On.
Oh, hello, everyone. This is Nathaniel McQuirt coming to you live from the ASAP Sports Network. This is the show, ASAP Sunday Morning NFL pregame show, is brought to you by Suzanne Paparazzi's Jewelry. All products are leaded nickel. All products are $5 special offer for ASAP Sports viewers. Free matching when you buy a necklace. Order now at paparazzisaccessories.com and the promo code is 160920. So, like I said, this is a pregame show, so we're going to be covering from starting with San Francisco 49ers versus the New York Giants. San Francisco has a lot of injured players within the past few weeks. My pick is I think the New York Giants are going to win this one. Um, so do you agree? I'm gonna give this to Ace first.
All right, so let me get started with this. So you're talking about how the 49ers have a lot of injuries, which trust me, they do. They are banged up. They're banged up on offense, they're banged up on defense. When you have a Nick Mullins starting at quarterback cuz Jimmy G's out, George Kittle's out, a Raheem Mostert's out, a Tevin Coleman's out, and then you look on the defensive side of the ball, you have a Richard Sherman who's been placed on IR. You have a Solomon Thomas out. You have a Nick Bosa who's out, and it seems like the injuries just keep going and going and going and going. But then you want to look at the Giants side too. So on the Giants side, you have Saquon Barkley who's hurt. Then you also have a Sterling Shepard who was just placed on IR. And Sterling Shepard has been pretty much the veteran receiver on that team for years. Now they do have a Golden Tate, they have a Darius Slayton, they have an Evan Ingram. They just signed Devontae Freeman, but how much is Devontae Freeman going to actually play? He just signed there.
That's
So
true.
he's probably not going to know a lot of the playbook. So you'll probably be seeing a lot of Dion Lewis in this game. But just based off of injuries itself, I would have to take the New York Giants in this game. It's going to be a close game, but I'll
Yeah.
take the New York Giants.
If I had to go to a score, I would say 20 uh New York Giants, 17 49ers.
It's definitely going to be a close game.
Chris?
I would think it would be a close game. Maybe 23-20. New York will take this, even though they don't have Barkley. He's out for the rest of the season. Um, it seems like San Francisco has more injuries than New York at the moment. And seeing that they're returning to the place where they occurred all those injuries last week, I think it's going to be tough for them to win.
All right. So the next matchup is the Cleveland Browns. They're the home team against the Washington football team. Um, I have Cleveland simply because I think they have better weapons on the offensive side of the ball. But Washington in week one has been scary. So I see this also becoming a close game. Uh, I have the Browns by maybe a few points.
Did you just call the Washington football team scary?
I
Did you
said they
just
were
call them
I
scary?
said they were scary in week one.
In week one, in week one against a Philadelphia team that is 0-2. So I don't know if I would, and I'm not. If you want to say they were scary in week one, that's fine, you know. But to me, it was against a 0-2 Philadelphia team that did not have their best offensive lineman and Lane Johnson. And Lane Johnson is now healthy. What happened last week? The Washington football team came out. They played the Arizona Cardinals, and they got destroyed. They pretty much ran into a buzzsaw and the Cardinals. But that's here nor there because that Cardinals team is much better than Washington. This game, like I said, I was going back and forth on this game. Number one, yes, Cleveland should by far. They have the better offense on paper. On paper,
Yeah.
they haven't shown it yet, but on paper they have the better offense. The problem is the quarterback for Cleveland is Baker, and I don't trust him yet. I really, really don't. This is the year that Baker's going to have to step up and prove this is my team. This team can go as I go. But I don't know. I have not been impressed with Baker. But even with that being said, I'm not sold on Dwayne Haskins yet. He has made improvements from last year. I'm not saying that, but I'm not completely sold on Haskins. The best thing about this Washington team is that defensive line. They have a Chase Young, a Ryan Kerrigan, a Montez Sweat. That defense just keeps getting better and better and better. But just with the offensive weapons that Cleveland has, I have to go with Cleveland in this one.
Chris?
I'm going with Cleveland too, but I think Washington has a momentum that they're riding, even though they lost that game, and they did win week one as well. But I feel like they're riding a momentum that they can win any game they possibly can. Both quarterbacks seem like they improved from last year, but Cleveland should win this.
Did you just say Baker Mayfield improved since last year? Show me how Baker Mayfield has improved since last year. I want to know, because that is blasphemous. Baker Mayfield has not improved since last year. He's the same old Baker Mayfield. He just got outplayed by a rookie, and Joe Burrow.
That's true, but I don't know if they had a better quarterback, if Cincinnati had a better quarterback last year playing, that it could have been if Cleveland would have won.
Cincinnati's quarterback last year, it was kind of a flip-flop because for a while it was Andy Dalton and then it was Jeff Driscoll. And as we know, where's Andy Dalton now? He's a backup for Dallas. And then where's Jeff Driscoll now? Jeff Driscoll is technically supposed to be a backup in Denver, but he's starting because of Drew Lock's hurt. So I would not say that it was because of that division, because last year Pittsburgh was garbage, Cleveland was garbage, and Cincinnati was garbage.
I thought Jeff Driscoll played for the Lions last year.
I thought he
Oh, yes, he did. I'm sorry. No, who was that played for Cincinnati? Jeff Driscoll was on the Lions. He started a few games because Matthew Stafford went down, and then Jeff Driscoll got replaced by a David Blau. So still, I'm just saying, he got replaced by a David Blau.
wasn't Simeon on Lions. I mean, Broncos.
He did
He
not
used to.
know.
That was in 2013.
Trevor Simeon actually last year started a few games for the hapless New York Jets, because that was when Sam Darnold got mono and was out, and then the Jets went through like 14,000 quarterbacks.
So we have the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This is one of few games I think it's going to be an upset. I have the Cincinnati Bengals in this one.
Joe Burrow.
Because of Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
Now,
go ahead.
Chris on the All Sports All Plays Road Talk, he called me crazy for that because of him being a Philadelphia Eagles fan. But I seriously think they're going to win today against Philadelphia.
And that's completely okay. And you know why? A Eagles fan is going to obviously say that. It would be like when we come to Dallas and Seattle and I take Seattle, Chris is going to be like, "What? Are you kidding me? You're going to take Seattle over Dallas?" It's going to come down to that same thing just like always. Chris can be like, "What? What Dallas, man? This is our year." It's going to be the same thing over and over and over again. So trust me. That's not a knock. With this Philadelphia team should be a lot better than what they're playing now. This Philadelphia team is not playing well right now. That's why in this game I said that Joe Burrow is going to get his first career victory in this game. Joe Burrow is playing better than Carson Wentz. So, Cincinnati in this game. It's going to be a close game, but Cincinnati.
Cincinnati should have been 2-0. I mean, they came close to winning both games. They should be 2-0, but I think he'll get his first win this week. It might be a close one again, but Cincinnati, I think, can pull it off.
I say
See,
Cincinnati by 4.
yeah, and going back to what you were saying, Chris, is when you look at week 2, when the Bengals went up against the Browns, the main reason why Cincinnati could not win that game is because Cincinnati's defense is horrible. They do not have a good defense, and so that just happened to be one of those games that for some reason, I don't know why, but Baker tends to play well on Thursday nights. That's like the one night he plays well on. So maybe if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you want Cleveland to play on Thursday night every week. I have no idea because that seems to be like the one night he plays good on. But Joe Burrow looked good in that game. Week 1, yeah, with the missed field goal, but the kicker was also hurt, so I don't know. It's kind of a toss up in that one. But yes, Cincinnati.
Okay. The next matchup is another, in my opinion, I think that the team that's going to win this one is Vegas. Vegas over New England. And I think they're going to win by, again, I say by 6 points.
Ooh.
Ace?
This one to me was very, very tough.
It was tough for me too.
And the only reason I'm saying that is because when you look at this New England team, what's one thing that they have? They have the GOAT and a coach of Bill Belichick. That guy's an absolute genius. That guy can pretty much make any quarterback look good. I don't care who you are. If you play for Bill Belichick, he is going to make you look good. The Cam Newton this year that we're seeing, this is a Cam Newton that we have not seen in quite a few years, and that is because he's working with Bill Belichick. This defense for New England, I didn't think that they were going to be as good, and that was because at the beginning of the season, a lot of New England Patriots opted out, and half of them were on their defense. So I didn't think that this Patriots team was going to be good at all. But yet again, Bill Belichick is proving me wrong and showing me, hey, I'm still here, guys. Brady might have left, but I'm still here. And I will make this New England Patriot competitive. And he is right now. And then you look on the Las Vegas side of the ball, they're 2-0. That offense is rolling. They're looking good. The defense has a few question marks, but they can put up points. And so that's why in this game, I might go with Las Vegas, and that's simply because of the points that Las Vegas is capable of putting up. And Josh Jacobs is playing in this game, and so is Darren Waller. So since they're both playing, yes, Las Vegas.
Chris?
I would have to go with I would have to go with Vegas. It is a toss up between New England and the Raiders. It seems like like you were saying earlier, no matter who's at quarterback, Bill Belichick can coach him. You had Matt Castle, who filled in for Brady in 2008, 2007, 2008. I can't remember. And then you also had Garoppolo backing up Brady. He's good in San Francisco. And now you have Cam Newton, starting because Tom Brady went to another team. I felt like at the beginning of the year, Belichick had something to prove in that, in a way, his job was on the line if he couldn't coach Newton, and he can, but I don't think he'll win this game. At least at least this week.
You were you gonna say something?
Okay. Yeah. So I was gonna say, don't forget when it came to Bill Belichick. Also, that year that you said that Jimmy Garoppolo started. Don't forget that other guy who started in place of Brady also, which was Jacoby Brissett. And he was able to take a New England team with a Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby Brissett went 2-1 as a starter. Jacoby Brissett.
And I thought he did okay with the Indianapolis Colts. He didn't do great, but he did okay. Um, so we have the Chicago Bears versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I think it for the Atlanta side, not for the for Atlanta side. I think this is going to be. I have Atlanta. I have Atlanta to win. Um, simply because I don't think that Chicago has the weapons that Dallas has. Um,
Okay.
on the offensive side of the ball, defense that's different. But okay, Ace.
No, going back to what you were saying about the weapons, Chicago actually has weapons. The thing that they're lacking is a quarterback because they have a guy by the name of Mitchell Trubisky. So yes, they do have weapons, but they cannot use the weapons because of their
True.
quarterback. And so that's why Chicago's offense is so stagnant because of Mitch Trubisky. If they were to play somebody else, if they were to have a better quarterback, let's say you take a guy, like even if you put Andy Dalton on that team, Andy Dalton would be a better choice than Mitch Trubisky, which I believe if Andy Dalton was on that team instead of going to Dallas, if he would have ended up in Chicago, Chicago would be a legitimate threat only based upon that defense, and they do have some weapons on offense. And Andy Dalton's, he's a decent quarterback. He's not elite by any means, but he's a decent quarterback. But with what you were saying with the Falcons have a ton of weapons. A ton of weapons. Their offense is scary. When you have three receivers that can go over 100 yards in a game, that means you got some weapons going on your side. And that's why I took the Falcons in this game, because even though Chicago has a good defense, they don't have a good enough offense to be able to match point for point with the Atlanta Falcons.
Chris.
I'll be surprised if Chicago does win with Trubisky as quarterback. I felt like they'd be better if they had at least Foles out there for at least one game to see what they truly see in him. I know they saw some things in training camp, a shortened training camp, that they didn't feel comfortable with heading into the season. I think if they had a full preseason, it might have been Foles over Trubisky. But they're sticking with Trubisky. I don't think that's a smart move right now. I'm picking Atlanta over Chicago.
And I just had a light bulb go on just really quick, going back to the Cincinnati thing really quick, because it was driving me nuts who I was trying to remember who was backing up Andy Dalton. And a light bulb just came on, and I remembered because Cincinnati drafted a quarterback, and his name was Ryan Finley. That's who was the backup.
Oh,
That's who was the backup for Andy Dalton. They brought in Finley to try him out to see how good he was going to be. And so that's who replaced Dalton for a few games.
so you said that you think that uh, starting Trubisky over Nick Foles was a good choice. I mean, was a bad choice? Excuse me. I would say start Trubisky until about week 15, week 16, week 17, because Foles knows how to
That's true.
back and knows how to take this team. If they're starting from if he's starting late in the season and he didn't start any previous game before that, he knows how to take this team to the playoffs.
Foles is a great quarterback when he comes off the bench.
Yeah,
But
that's what I'm trying to say.
if you want him to start all season, not your best choice. But we all know what he can do coming in off the bench.
So next matchup is the Los Angeles Rams versus the Buffalo Bills.
Woo, buddy.
Before we get to that matchup, I just wanted to say I do not like the logo for the Rams. I'm just saying that. Um, but for this one, I was really impressed with what Josh Allen did this last week. Actually, he put up more fantasy points than Russell Wilson. And I also have Stephon Diggs on that team. So I have Buffalo winning in this one. But I think Rams are also going to do pretty well. So I say Buffalo by maybe 10 points.
So, Nate, the one thing I want to throw out here to you, this is towards Nate the Great, okay? I'm not going to take away anything that Josh Allen has done. But the one thing I want to point out is, who did they play in week 1?
Bills played the Jets.
The Jets, exactly. They played the Jets in week 1. Who did they play in week 2?
The Miami
Dolphins in week 2. So tell me, who have they played yet that is actually a good team? This is going to be their true test, their first true test of the season, because this Rams team is a lot better than what people expected. I did not expect this Rams team to be very good at all, and so far they have proven that they might be a contender. Even though they got rid of a Cooks and they no longer have a Gurley, that offense, they still have a deep receiving core.
So one thing before we get to Chris's side on this, one thing to rebuttal for what Ace said. Now I don't think Miami is a good team by any means, but if it wasn't for that interception, they would have lost only by 3 points. And they only lost by 3 points against Buffalo. So, and they completely dominated against Jacksonville, against Gardner Minshew. He out-Minshewed the Minshew. So, I don't think they're good teams by any means, but I don't think Miami is a bad team either.
They're not number 32 in the league, because I'll tell you, the 32nd team in the league right now is the New York Jets. They're the worst team in all of NFL right now, and they're showing it. And that was just my point, is I'm not going to take anything away from Josh Allen, but they have not played anybody good yet. So this is their first true test of the weekend. Pretty much of the season so far, this is their first true test. And I cannot wait to see this game.
Chris?
I have Buffalo in this game. I hope they pull it off. LA's really good. They have good receivers. They still do have Cup, and I think he's a good down the field receiver for those long throws. But I feel like Goff has been more up. He's been up and down, but I feel like the last few seasons he's been kind of more down and up, even though this season he's kind of 2-0, showing that he can still start. Maybe I think Buffalo has something to prove heading into this season.
And really quick, going back to what Chris said, when you look at the reason why Goff is playing so well, it's because Sean McVay is now using Goff to his strengths. He's now understood what his strengths are, and Sean McVay is like, okay, now we need to let Goff do what he does best and not try and get away from what Goff does. That was the problem in the last couple years, was that McVay was kind of trying to change the way that Goff was being a quarterback, and then McVay's like, okay, I can't do that. We have to feed into what Goff does best.
So next matchup, I'm going to talk a little bit before we give our picks. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Houston Texans for a second. Which trade, in your opinion, was worse? Minnesota trading Stephon Diggs to Buffalo, or Houston trading DeAndre Hopkins to Arizona? Let's give this to Ace.
Well, that one I would say by far DeAndre Hopkins was the worst trade, and to me it's not even close. And the reason why that one's by far the worst trade is because DeAndre Hopkins is probably the best receiver in all of the NFL. And now Bill O'Brien has came out and said that he did the trade for salary cap reasons. Are you kidding me? You're going to take the best receiver in the game and you're going to trade him to the Arizona Cardinals for a freaking bag of chips. David Johnson used to be a good running back. He's not that guy anymore. They wanted a running game, so they got a bag of chips for DeAndre Hopkins. Wow. At least the Vikings got a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs. At least they got something good in return for him.
So, Hurst?
I would have to agree with about Johnson. Being traded from Arizona to Houston, or the other way around, I should say. It just wasn't a good trade. Not good. You had a good thing going. Now you just made it worse.
Okay. So, that being said, Houston plays against Pittsburgh this week. Pittsburgh only won against 5 points against Denver, and then they beat New York by 10. I have Pittsburgh in this one, and I have Pittsburgh say by at the very most 15, at the very least by 10. So Ace?
I would agree with you, and the reason why I would truly agree with you is because when we go back to what we just talked about, the Houston Texans losing DeAndre Hopkins, that's pretty much what made this offense tick, because now teams were so focused on DeAndre Hopkins that Will Fuller was able to get open, and QT was able to get open, and then they even had a Lamar Miller till he went on IR last year to help in the running game. This year they don't have a DeAndre Hopkins, and that Steelers defense, they're vicious. That Steelers defense is really, really good. And just based off of what Houston has right now and the way that offense has been looking, basically in the first 3 weeks of the season, they're going to be running the gauntlet, man, because they've played the Chiefs, they've played the Ravens, and now they're playing the Steelers, which have one of the best defenses in all of the NFL. So just purely off that, I am going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers just based off of defense.
Chris?
I would agree Pittsburgh's going to win this game. It's hard to win against the defense on Pittsburgh, no matter who you have on your roster. I mean, it is possible to win, but I'm going with Pittsburgh on this one with their defense.
So the next matchup, I bring this up. It's Minnesota versus the Indianapolis Colts. Oh no, sorry, that was last week.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota versus the Titans. I think the Titans are going to win this one. I think it's going to be a blowout. Ace?
Nate, and I completely agree with you on that. And pretty much when you look at this game, Look at what the Indianapolis Colts did to the Minnesota Vikings. The Indianapolis Colts pretty much chew them up and spit them out. Kirk Cousins looked horrible in that game. And Indianapolis is nowhere even compared to this Titans team. This Titans team is loaded. Ryan Tannehill's been really, really impressive. They have a Derrick Henry in the backfield. That guy's a monster. So if the Indianapolis Colts can do that to a Minnesota Vikings team, a Tennessee Titans team can do this to a Vikings team. So completely agree. It's going to be a blowout. Titans win this one easily.
Chris?
Titans gonna win. Will be a blowout. I feel like Cousins may be losing something. I don't know. Maybe he kind of overstayed his time in Minnesota, or maybe he needs to be. Maybe he needs to be benched to maybe get a spark back and then come back in the game. I don't know, but he's losing something.
Probably because Stephon Diggs is gone.
Probably.
Yeah, that Stephon Diggs trade really hurt Minnesota. There was a lot of people who thought it wasn't going to hurt them because they still had the Vikings pegged to win the NFC North.
Now, the only team I think that Minnesota's going to do better than North is Detroit.
I agree with that.
Even Chicago, I think, is going to be second. So yesterday's show, you brought up something along the lines about how Mess Around was a Chicago Bears fan.
Yes.
And that you're a huge Green Bay Packers fan. I made that comment that said I know someone who's a Detroit fan, and I kind of consider myself a Minnesota Vikings fan. That's only because I am a descendant, not of a Minnesota Viking, but of a Viking. I do a lot of genealogy, and I found that out. So, I mean, if I had to pick someone to root for over the NFC North, it would be the Vikings.
Well, we were just all confused because the whole comment was just really confusing because you go from saying I know a Lions fan to I consider myself a Vikings fan because of genealogy, but then you're like, but I like the Broncos better. So we were kind of confused, and I'm like, hopefully Nate will elaborate on this more because I don't know what the heck is going on right now. This was all just one giant thing thrown into one that I'm like, this is so confusing. What does this guy even mean?
Yeah. I mean, I said, like, I would only root for Minnesota in that division only because I'm a descendant of a Viking. So, do you want to go with the rest of the picks or just close it out for now?
Well, Chris and Freddie cover the afternoon games.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead. But if you guys want to, just really quick, the afternoon games simply look like this. We don't need to talk a lot about the afternoon games, but if you just want to roll through and just say what your picks would be, that'll be fine. But we don't need to talk about them.
All right. So that could be like the last 30-second comment or thing, or that. Okay. So, Chris, what are your last little picks for the remaining of the games, and then we'll close. And then we'll go to Ace, and then we'll go to myself.
Yeah.
And then we're going to close out there.
All right. So before I finish my 30 seconds, Nate, this is a question for you. I always like to finish on this one. If you had to pick a standout player this weekend that you truly believe is gonna stand out and show up, who would you pick for this weekend's game? And it can be anybody from any team.
I'm gonna go with Cincinnati on this one. I think the Cincinnati's wide receiver. I think his name is Tyler Boyd.
Yes, it's Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, I think he might stand out against Philadelphia. Joe Burrow is the the quarterback for that team, and he's thrown 61 passes last week. And I think Tyler Boyd might get at the very. I could say Tyler Boyd gets like maybe 3 touchdowns, maybe 2.
Which Tyler Boyd is going to have to play good because I know that AJ Green is healthy right now and he's playing, but he hasn't been the same AJ Green. So I don't think he's 100% yet.
Yeah. So I think um, I think Tyler Boyd's going to be the primary target this week.
All right,
And
and
yeah,
Chris. Now I'll go to Chris.
I would have to say probably Joe Burrow. I mean, he's played good the last 2 weeks, but I think this season is going to be kind of showing everybody why he is the number one pick.
Ooh, wow. So we have a
yeah.
Joe Burrow and we have a Tyler Boyd.
What's yours?
Boy, man, I really had to think about mine. And it's been really tough because when I look at some of the matchups, I'm like, man, there's going to be some good football this weekend. There really is going to be some good football. But if I had to pick a standout player for this week, he goes by the name of Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts. I believe that is going to be my standout player of the week. He's going to rush for, my prediction is he's going to rush for 145 yards, and he's going to have 50 receiving yards. He's going to be my standout player of the week.
Okay. So Chris, what are your picks for the remaining in the game?
In the Seattle Cowboys Seattle game, if there was fans in the stands, I would have picked Seattle. But since there's not, I'm going with Dallas. Last year's Arizona Detroit game was pretty good, but I think Kyler Murray is a little bit better, so I'm going Arizona. Broncos and the Buccaneers. Tom Brady's kind of up and down, and I know it's a new system, but I'm going with Tampa Bay over Denver. In your prime time for tonight, Sunday night football, Saints and the Packers. Both quarterbacks are good potential Hall of Famers. I'm going with Green Bay over New Orleans. You want me to do the Monday night?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Monday night, uh, both are really good quarterbacks, and the Chiefs and the Ravens. I got Baltimore over Kansas City.
Ace, you're cutting out a little bit. I mean, you're not cutting out. I can't hear you. So
Okay, so I will go ahead and I will start with the Jets versus the Colts. Obviously, there's not going to be much to talk about in this game because Jonathan Taylor's going to run wild in this game. So I've got the Colts to beat the Jets. I'll go with this one's tough. I'll go ahead and pick the Chargers to beat the Panthers, and then I will take the Bucks to beat the Broncos, and the Cardinals to thrash the Lions. And then, of course, I'm gonna take on Sunday night. I'm gonna take that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, to beat the Saints. And then Monday night is probably the game that is gonna be the game of the week. Like this is the monster of all games. This one's gonna be tough. I think Baltimore Ravens get their revenge and beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
They're calling that Ravens Chiefs game the game of the year in some stations or some
mhm.
network.
So before I give my picks, I just want to clarify this. Chiefs and Ravens are my game of the week, but NFL's game of the week is Dallas versus Seattle. So Panthers and Chargers. I'm gonna go with Chargers because Justin Herbert is starting. Jets and Colts. Colts, no explanation needed. Seahawks, Cowboys. I say Seahawks. Cardinals, Lions. Cardinals. But I heard Kenny Galladay is starting this week. I still am going to pick the Cardinals though by 10. The Broncos, Bucks. I have the Bucks by 3. Saints, Packers. I have Packers by 20. Like 40-28 maybe. Chiefs, Ravens. I still have Kansas City in this one. Say like 48-44. And that concludes yet another episode from the ASAP Sports Network. This is Ace, Chris, and I signing out for now. Bye, everyone. Are you doing the song or?